Welcome to Talks with Alona, Untold Stories. I am your host Alona, and I am about to call Matthew Kepnes. You might know Matthew as NomadicMatt. He's one of the original and one of the most successful travel bloggers in the world. He's a New York Times bestselling author. I actually have his new book here with me right now, and he recently tested positive for COVID-19. In today's conversation, I will be conscious of Matt's time, and I want to know what happened from start to finish, from the symptoms to the test to how he's doing now. Without further ado, let's go call Matt. Full disclaimer, all the stories in this series, real stories about real people, but just their opinions. For the most up-to-date information on the coronavirus, please go on the CDC and WHO websites. All right, Matt, hi. First of all, thank you so much for joining me today. Where are you now?
Well, thanks for having me. I am in my quarantine house over in Austin, so down in Texas.
Is the weather nice?
I don't know. I haven't been outside.
Nothing, like windows open, sunlight.
There is sunlight. Window's not open, but there is sunlight.
Oh, it's better than New York. So Matt, you were recently on a trip. You were in Paris, you were in France, and you were in Taiwan. And your trips kind of started when the coronavirus news was already somehow out, but there was a lot of uncertainty. I was following your travels and I was planning my own trips while you were traveling. So you came back, and what happened?
I got coronavirus. But no, I probably actually got it in New York. I mean, the average time is 2 to 14 days, they say, but on average it's 6. So 6 days before I got sick, I was in New York. So it's a good chance I got it there. I definitely didn't get it in Taiwan. One, because there were very few local cases. And two, they had such great controls on everything that it's highly unlikely I got it there. Plus, I had been gone from Taiwan for over a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So it wouldn't have been there. Could have been Paris, maybe, but none of my friends in Paris have gotten sick. So it wasn't from people I knew, at the very least. I know a couple of people in New York who have gotten sick, so it's quite then possible it was from them. I mean, they can't get tested, so you don't know if it is coronavirus, but most likely it is. So I would say I either got it on the plane home or New York. That seems the most likely scenario.
And how did you come to understand that you might have it, or what symptoms were you feeling that kind of led up to the point where you were like, okay, I have to get tested?
Well, I wanted to get tested just to rule it out. I don't really get sick. I get the flu shot too, so I don't really ever get the flu. But I had a fever, aches, chills, a cough, and I figured with my recent travel, between all 3 of those destinations, that if I can get tested, I might as well just get tested.
Was it that easy? Is that just how it is in Texas? You could just walk in and you could get tested?
I think I qualified because of overseas travel. I think it's a lot harder now. I went only a couple of days after they had open testing, so I don't think it was a concern.
Mm-hmm.
So I just got in before everybody else got tested. Like the nurse said I was the only one that had tested positive for it at the time.
Wow.
So,
and how did that test look like?
They take a giant swab and shove it up your nose.
And then
nasal cavities.
How long did it take, for the results to come back? Do they call you? Did they send you a letter?
I got a call 24 hours later.
Oh,
well, depending on the test they're doing and the size of the lab, I've heard it takes 3 days to get a result, which is crazy because some people died within that time.
Wow. And they call you and they tell you you're positive, and then did they give you like a list of things that now you have to do?
There's no treatment for it, so I just have to ride it out. They said take Tylenol, and if you develop shortness of breath, call 911. But that's it. There's no treatment. You have to ride it out, or you don't ride it out and you die. But because the hospitals are so overwhelmed, they'll only see you if you need intensive care.
Is that the only flaw that you feel exists in the system right now, or are there more deficiencies?
Well, I think we don't test enough. I think we need massive testing. We should have millions and millions of people being tested every day.
Even if they don't experience severe symptoms.
40% of people I've read, based in China, were asymptomatic. They didn't show any symptoms, but you're giving it to 3-4 people every time you go out in the world. So we need massive testing because we need people who even if they're not symptomatic to be tested, and if they come back positive, quarantined away from everybody else. Otherwise, the problem is that it has a terrible mortality rate, but if you just have hundreds of thousands of people sick at once, hospitals can't deal with that volume.
Infrastructure is not there, not even in the States, let alone other countries.
And look at Italy, that's a perfect example. So that's why this whole flatten the curve thing is just about, ensuring that the number of cases per day doesn't rise above our capacity to handle it.
Mm-hmm. And do you think Austin or just Texas in general, are they handling all of this well, or could it have been better? Like, is everyone else quarantined, or is there like a lockdown situation going on?
They've shut restaurants, but there's no stand-in-place order like New York or California. No one's gonna go to a restaurant if you're gonna go and get food and a chance of death, right? So it's better off to, as all the doctors and scientists say, just shut it all down,
Mm-hmm.
quarantine everybody, test everybody massively so that we just get through it. Otherwise, you're going to have second and third waves, like the flu pandemic back in 1918. And so it's the only thing we can do.
But people are staying inside, meaning like they're basically locked down. So New York is implementing stricter and stricter measures. Beaches are closed. We're told not to couple up when we walk and keep 6 feet distance. Is that the same application now?
In Texas, no, there's plenty of people still out. Bars and restaurants are closed, but you see people out all the time.
All the time.
I can see from my window just people walking on the street below.
And you get home for.
There's nothing wrong with walking down the street by yourself, but I see groups of people all the time.
All the time, yeah. That's the issue that we have here now too. And you've been home for 13 days now?
Yep. 13 very long days.
How do you know that you're good to go? So they quarantined you for 2 weeks, and then what? That's it? Like you're good?
I mean, it's all the honor system. I could leave whenever I want. There's no one outside my door guarding me. But they say if you have 3 days without symptoms, you're okay. So, I mean, I haven't had a fever for a week now. So if I go 3 days without a cough, I'm okay. But I would like to get retested.
That was my next question. Do they retest you to just make sure?
They don't have enough tests to go around, so they can't, which is a real problem. I mean, people can shed this virus for weeks. I mean, I'll probably go for a walk this weekend, and that would be 3 days from, because I haven't had a cough today. But I mean, I would like to get retested just to be on the safe side.
Sure, right, because we don't know if it actually just goes away, essentially. Mm-hmm. What have you been doing to keep busy? I have your book in front of me, actually, which awesome. I will link down here. But what have you been doing? Are you writing another book, or
writing blog posts, reading, watching Netflix, spending way too much time on Twitter?
Tweeting or reading?
Both.
Fair enough.
The other day, I have a lot we've been doing, because I was gone for a month. There's been a lot of work just put to the side that we're doing now. So it's been keeping me busy, trying to get a lot of writing done, and reading more, and just, I mean, the virus sort of wiped me out. So, I would sleep for like 12 hours a day. So I wasn't awake for most of the time.
Yeah, I could imagine. But you do have a team, right? And uh, is the strategy of your content significantly changing now? You know, people are not searching for travel as much. So I think all of us in this space are kind of taking a hit. Where do you think we're going within the next, let's say, 2 or 3 months?
Yeah, I think we're gonna be inside till May, so I don't think you're gonna see any travel until May. Uh, I'm gonna write more stories, just more stuff that I hadn't written before. Talk more about life at home, kind of bring the blogging back to the blog. Where it was, there's not a lot of travel content. I mean, I have stuff from my last trip I'll put up, but just more, just like general random thoughts about life.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what a blog should be. It's essentially a diary, but
Yeah.
we switch it. What's the most positive thing that you took out of this? You know, we spoke a lot about the negatives, but what's something positive?
I think this whole experience will give people a greater appreciation for friends, family, community, and the great outdoors. It's definitely made me more appreciative of just being able to like leave your house, as well as sort of the freedom and, I mean, just luxury I had to be able to travel anywhere when I wanted, buy what I want. I think it makes you reevaluate what's really important in times like this.
For sure. Well, thank you so much. I want to be conscious of your time and I hope that you feel better. Tell me something. You have a Patreon portal account. What's the right terminology here? What do you guys offer on Patreon that viewers could access?
Yeah, we're really moving toward a community driven website. And so while everything is really free, the Patreon allows people to sort of, upgrade their nomadic mat experience in the sense
Mhm.
where they get private blog posts, exclusive content, all my books, postcards from the road when we can travel again, weekly Q&As, and just, more interaction with the team and I uh, about everything.
Awesome. Cool. We'll make sure to link to that. Thank you so much for your time. I wish you a speedy recovery and I really appreciate you joining my talk.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Thank
Bye.
you.